Hey y'all, it's Krypton Critics. I'm here to review the newest MCU movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, directed by Paul Feig, starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Hannah John Kamen, Michael Pena, Michelle Pfeiffer, Lawrence Fishburne, uh, Walton Goggins, and Randall Park. Now, I was, you know, I haven't properly reviewed the original Ant-Man. I just kind of like side reviewed it, back when I did recap of 2015. But I did like the movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I loved Luis every time he would say something. I thought he was just hilarious. I did like the base emotion that was working between Hope and Hank about trying to find Janet again, and I thought, okay, that's pretty very interesting to see, especially when Scott Lang in the first movie, he's trying to prove himself and he becomes a hero because he's just ex-con, he's known for being a thief, and he has more strained relationship than he would like with his daughter. He wants to get bring her back into his life, and this one we see that he does. Now, just like any movies where they take place in the timeline, there's ramifications of previous movies. The one that has a big effect on Scott Lang today is the fact that he fought in Germany alongside with Captain America when they made the Sokovia Accords in Captain America Civil War. So right now he is under house arrest. So he's allowed visitation on the weekends to see his daughter, and he keeps bumping into his ex-wife and Cassie's stepdad, who's like a police officer. He's being constantly being checked up on by the FBI, and so we have Jimmy Woo, played by Randall Park, and everything I've seen Randall Park in, I think he's been funny. The first time I saw him was an interview, I thought he was great in that movie. When he played Kim Jong-un. One thing I do really enjoy about this movie, and where they go into a different direction. They do a lot of things with the shrinking and growing. Some things I had never thought of before. Cinematography, you already know it's Marvel doesn't put out movies that don't look beautiful. And especially with the CGI, oh my god, what they do with de-aging technology is fucking impeccable. I almost had, I could have had my jaw on the ground seeing how they de-age Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer in the flashbacks in the 80s, and we see little Hope, having to be told by her daddy that mommy's dead, or I lost her. She shrank too much. But just seeing him talk about this old Michael Douglas, explaining that was the hardest thing he ever had to tell his daughter. Honestly, that was pretty stabbing chest, how impactful that was. Just the way he said those few words, you could feel that weight in some way. Ultimately, these are fictional characters, but the whole aspect of just letting out a narrative, especially one with emotion, is just how do you present it. I think I do like this movie more than the first one. A big part of it is because I cared more about the outcome of getting back someone. The first one, it was more about saving this old guy and his company, and just making sure that his daughter's safe all at the same time. This one is pretty much only about saving one woman that mother and father/husband haven't seen in 30 years, and I felt the tension and the ticking clock. I felt it with this, and I also think that this movie is just fucking hilarious at many moments. Just like before, Luis tells stories, and he tells one story that I could not stop laughing. You know, even when the scene was gone, there was probably like one or two lines that I missed just because I was still laughing from the way he delivers, you know, the whole situation of Ant-Man, the first movie, how it goes to this one. Seeing Cassie, you know, Scott Lang's daughter, and him play, you know, father and daughter, is some of the cutest things I've seen on film. Period. They had made a little ant tunnel and they made it out of cardboard, and they're riding down a slide. Unfortunately, you know, the slide is a little too radical because, you know, the ankle bracelet goes through the fence, and, you know, FBI is like, hey, what are you doing? You know, and Scott Lang gets really good with card tricks, and, you know, later on, you know, Jimmy Woo, you know, the FBI guy, is like trying to replicate it, and even at the end, he sees, you know, some of the growing technology. He's like, oh, it's magic, you know. I mean, it might as well be, you know, and plus, we already know magic freaking exists. You know, we have Doctor Strange and shit. Sonny is an interesting character. I liked the way Walton Goggins plays the character. He's not one with, like, you know, sad backstory or really much of intentions what we can, like, sympathize for, but I like the way, you know, he has a southern drawl, and just the way he plays, like, kind of a scummy villain. One of his goons, I don't know why, but he like has like his necklace in his mouth, which I couldn't stop looking at. I don't know if that was just like a comedic gag, or, you know, just like a narrative shorthand to show that, you know, these guys are just dumb. But anyway, but the main villain of this movie is Ghost. Now, in the comics, Ghost was a dude, but there's nothing about the character of Ghost that says it has to be a dude. So, nothing wrong there, and, you know, it's also cool to have, you know, not only another female villain, but to have a, like, main character in the cast who is mulatto. So go mulattoes, yay! Represent. But, you know, towards the end, you know, like, she gives herself up. You know, she doesn't want to hurt anybody else. You know, the only reason that she hurts people is to get to objective of have her stop phasing, because that's her power. She just, like, she just goes to walls and shit. But it hurts. And, you know, she has to keep going into this, you know, techno babble whatever, you know, vat with, you know, like, weird vibration rays, and, you know, it helps her stay more stabilized. And she's getting help from Bill Foster, who in the comics is Goliath, and they do mention that there was a Goliath project. Now, there was a brief time where his name was Black Goliath, because, you know, if you have a black character, of course he got called Black, you know, unless he's Falcon. But, you know, I was happy to see Lawrence Fishburne. I do think he's a really good actor. I did not expect him to, like, do any backstabbing. You know, I just thought, you know, like, the contention between him and Hank Pym would just be just reverential. I didn't think it would ever come back in any way. But, you know, there's a clear line where, you know, he won't, like, hurt any innocent people, especially children. You know, Ghost, you know, gets sees like a FaceTime or like a Google Hangouts call that Scott Lang gets when they're apprehended, and she's like, oh, maybe we can, like, tie up the kid, and, you know, maybe he'll, like, hand up, you know, the lab and shit, because they're trying to use his lab to make her not phase anymore and, like, get out of this pain. Now, we also learned that Ghost was like a secret operative of S.H.I.E.L.D. before they went under, and, you know, we found out they were part of Hydra. Oh my gosh. And she was a lethal killer, and she did their bidding. And we also learned that you know, some of, like, the shady shit that Hank did alongside with S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, made him not, like, give a fuck about other people. And then there was a lab that blew up, and, like, Ghost, pre-Ghost, this little girl sees like her parents die, but she survives, but she's cursed to always phase. But of course, we always go back to the plot of we're trying to get Janet back from the quantum realm. Space between molecules. So Scott gets a mental connection with, Janet, and he like puts like a giant ant, giant ant, like huge sized ant, in like his living room, and puts the ankle bracelet on that, and gives up like gets a burner and gives a call to Wasp and Hank, saying, I think I know something. So they get him involved. We learn that they have worker ants that build, giant shit, to go into the quantum realm, safely and come back. Eventually, after like FBI like apprehend Hank and Wasp, and they get out, and like they get attacked by Ghost again. Hank is like, I'm gonna go in. He puts on like a very old style like astronaut like almost type suit for like Ant-Man shrinking, and he goes in. So we finally see old Ant-Man kind of in like an Ant-Man suit. I think that's kind of interesting. But he's like shrinking down. He's like, I'm gonna look for Janet, and they had to like triangulate, the coordinates and all that shit. Meanwhile, Ghost and Sonny's goons go to see Luis, that Russian dude, and T.I. Because they run a company called XCon that helps with surveillance and all that. And they keep fighting over like whether or not they're going to eat like oatmeal, or they're going to have like the little pastries that you can buy from like just any odd store. And there's like this one of Sonny's goons was like trying to like get the truth out of them, so like threatening with truth serum, which they will say is not truth serum. That was a pretty interesting gag that they had. There's a great kitchen fight that Wasp has with Sonny's goons, where she like makes salt grow, and she runs on the side of a knife. Just badass fighting. Now, the suit that Ant-Man had for when he fought in Germany, he said that he destroyed it, but that was not true. He actually put it in a safe place, and the safe place was a little miniature plastic award that Cass gave him, that says "the world's greatest grandma," and it was underneath the base. So they go to her school and they have to like find it, which has some of my favorite jokes, because the shrinking technology starts malfunctioning on Ant-Man's new suit. He needs the old one, and he only shrinks halfway, so he looks like a little kid, especially when he puts a hoodie. And like he goes like finds little girl's backpack and like finds it. He's like, yes, we got it. And when he gets back into like Hank Pym's van, first thing Hank Pym says, "Hey champ, how was school?" That has to be one of my favorite lines in that movie. But music, it has all the right cues. Nothing really quite stood out to me. Stanley has a very entertaining cameo. I was like watching the movie, I'm like, where is he? Where is he? I'm like, oh, there he is. They don't try to hide him. He is, front and center for several frames. But yeah, now like the great finale is when we have a big old car chase through like San Francisco. They're trying to find the lab that's been shrunken, and it's like rolled around on a little case. Luis gets the Hot Wheels box that wheel, a Hot Wheels wheel. It's not a box. He opens it up and he gets his own car. You know, he unshrinks it, and Luis comes to the rescue. Yeah, believe it or not, he comes to the rescue. um, you know, Scott nearly drowns in the water after becoming giant because it makes you lightheaded. You know, that's just what happens. And they get Janet, and Janet helps when she comes back, and you know we have like tearful embrace, and I think you know the best acting, you know, from Michael Douglas. Don't get me wrong, he's good throughout the movie, but the thing that showed me like, oh my god, you know, he's killing it right now is when he sees his long lost wife and he starts crying. It is so powerful, you know, just every nuance in his face. Will, you know, once that happens. But yeah, you know, they reunite, and Janet like puts her hands on Ghost and use the quantum blah blah blah, and now she doesn't phase anymore. She's fine. You know, she says, you know, I'm done with this. You know, I got what I wanted. You know, the FBI like he's trying to find Scott because obviously they know he's Ant-Man, and they think that he was out there, and they trick him. They trick Jimmy Woo, and he's like back inside. And he's like, "Oh, we'll get you one day. We'll get you one day." And you know, ends with you know Cassie and Wasp. Well, now she's just Hope. You know, not wearing the suit, and you know Scott, and they're just watching the movie Invasion, which is about you know giant ants, oddly enough. And you know it's very cute. You know, like have a big old moth, like living dust everywhere. You know, what do you say? The post-credit scene is, you know, everyone's all chummy. You know, you got Janet, Hope, Hank, and Scott, and they're using Luis's car, and they're putting the machine that helps you go through the quantum realm. And Scott goes through it, and while Scott is like, "Okay, let me out," and he's like trying to grow back. He's like, "What's going on?" We see outside, and the whole Pym and Van Dyne, you know, this whole like little family, Thando dusted. They're dusted away. I'm like, oh my god! And they just leave it with you know a long pause sound. Like, oh you fuckers. Whew. Damn. You know, the only person I can think that can get Scott, you know, out of there because they know enough about, you know, quantum mechanics and, you know, shrinking and all that is Bill Foster. Because obviously Ghost is apprehended, and she only knew so much about shrinking. You know, her thing is that she knew was phasing because that was her life. And obviously killing people. But yeah, the movie was a lot of fun. You know, Luis's story was so funny, I almost cried. It's just a fun movie. There's some scenes that I wish were, you know, just like they should be shot a little different. You know, either it was like too quick moving, or you know they're trying to put a dramatic moment, and the joke was like a little too soon or a little too much. But you know, you're talking about something, you know, just like very mild problems and something that's like pretty damn awesome. So, you know, I don't feel any disingenuous. Okay, that's not a word. I don't feel disingenuous saying at all that this is worth A minus. You know, it's not the greatest of the Marvel movies I've seen. You know, it's not Infinity War. It's not Civil War. It's not you know any of those movies. But it's goddamn fun. Go see it. It's a hell of a watch. Yeah, it's part of the critics. You know, I love you.